Hello. What is up? Welcome to the next day of my going daily or going live daily challenge. Today, we are talking about how we can view conflict in a healthy way if we are naturally conflict avoidant as recovering people pleasers. If you need more assistance in engaging in tough conversations and being able to enforce your boundaries, I have a super free, awesome guide at the link in my bio that you can download right now that'll go into more depth of what I'm talking about today. Yesterday, we talked about what we should ask ourselves when we're trying to decide whether or not we should bring up an issue that we feel like there's going to be conflict around. And so if you missed yesterday's live, be sure to go back and watch it. It's still available for the next 48 hours. So make sure that I went over 3 questions you should ask yourself when you're deciding whether or not to bring something up. And it's super helpful and super informative. My name is Anna.Stewart. I'm a confidence coach. I run the Heart Centered Woman Confidence Club. I coach women who are goal oriented, recovering people pleasers. I coach them to put their desires first without worrying about what other people think. Live your life for you, boo. And so, as a recovering people pleaser myself, the reason why I decided to bring up today's topic is most of us recovering people pleasers are conflict avoidant. And me personally, I can feel very conflict avoidant because I don't like the stress and I don't like the drama and I don't like making things a big deal. And it like really puts me into my fight, flight, freeze, or fawn mode, primarily fawn mode, which is what most recovering people pleasers we kind of jump into. And I it's just not a good feeling. It racks up my nervous system. I overthink it. I'm thinking about it the day before. I'm stressing about it right before. I'm stressing about it in the moment. And then I'm freaking out afterwards. It messes with me physically. And, I know if you're a recovering people pleaser, you can relate to that. And like also side note, one of the worst things I hate is when you're in the moment and you have all of these great responses that you wish, or when you're in the moment, you can't come up with all these great responses. And then like you're in the shower, like later that night and you're like, I should have said this and I should have said that. And so I can totally relate. However, even though our tendency is to be conflict or avoidant, we can start to view conflict in a healthy way and in a less scary way, which can help us actually be brave enough to engage in conflict because conflict isn't that bad, even though sometimes it feels like it is. So if you're live, jump in with your comments. Let me know if you have any questions while I'm going along. If you're watching a replay, make sure you comment replay and let me know what stuck out for you and what you would like me to kind of go deeper into if there's something that maybe you want to hear more about, or maybe I didn't address fully, or whatever questions you have. I love coaching and I'm here for you. So, how can we view conflict in a healthier way or a less scary way as recovering people pleasers? The number one thing is the 4 agreements, which is a really great book. My favorite one out of that is to not take things personally. When someone attacks or engages in like a difficult conversation with us, it feels like a personal attack. It feels like they are attacking who you are, your self-worth, your value as a person, and that can really rock us to our core because it doesn't feel good to be attacked. Of course, I mean that taps into insecurities and old childhood wounds and just really doesn't feel good, of course. However, if you can change it to more of an objective view and realize that whatever the conflict is, you don't have to take it personally. It doesn't change your value as a person. It doesn't change who you are. It doesn't change your worth. What it is that you guys aren't seeing eye to eye on something in specific. So let's say it's a meeting. Let's say it's a meeting at work and your your boss or your coworker or whoever ends up saying something that is very hurtful, or they end up responding negatively to something you say. What if in that situation we recognize that the issue is in that moment, in the conversation, in the words that were spoken, and not a reflection of who we are as a person. Essentially, what that conflict is telling us that we don't align, we see things differently. And that's all it is. It isn't an attack on who you are as a person. It just means that this person believes that y'all should be, making deals in, I don't know, Abu Dhabi today. And you're like, no, we should be doing sales in Rome today. And even if they seem like they're attacking you, we have to recognize that maybe that's their own issues and their own inability to be able to engage in conflict in a healthy way. And we really have to step back and be objective and look at it and say, okay, is this really about me, or does this person have their own issues with conflict, and those inner wounds and those fears and those insecurities are showing up in what they say? Either way, it's not about you as a person. Just because, even if you said something stupid, like let's say you said the dumbest thing in the world, like you said something that was genuinely wrong, that's fine. We all have stupid moments. They don't have to be end all be all moments. They can just be what they were. We can recover from that. It doesn't make you a dumb person. It just means, like, okay, you had some more training to do in that area. Brush it off, recognize it is not a reflection of what you are capable of, what you can do in the future. All the things you've accomplished in the past are not wiped away just because you made a dumb comment. Even if people try to make you feel like that, they don't get to decide how you feel about yourself. You decide how you feel about yourself. Point blank. That brings me to my second point here. And as we try to not be so scared of conflict as recovering people pleasers, I don't know about you, but I feel like I definitely dramatize the consequences that happen after a conflict. So it's not just a matter of not taking it personally, but it's also saying that if this conversation goes wrong, if this meeting goes wrong, if something happens, then it's the end of the world. It's this very white and black, dramatized, overly dramatic, the world is going to end kind of a response to things that are happening. And it's really not true. We think like this because our brains have kind of conditioned us to really focus on survival and not thriving. And so when our brain realizes something as a threat, it thinks like, okay, this is life or death. This doesn't feel good. We have to avoid this. But every single time you engage in something that brings on your nervous system and gets you into a stress mode, doesn't mean it's actually a life or death situation. But we bring that mentality into every engagement that stresses us out. Our brains can't differentiate between this is just a disagreement versus this is something that can actually harm me, because your nervous systems kind of responds in the same way. So, but we have a fully functioning prefrontal lobe. And so that is when we can bring in the self-talk, the grounding, the breathing, and recognize that this conversation, this engagement, this disagreement is not going to end our world. We don't have to dramatize the consequences. At the end of the day, y'all disagreed. That is a-okay. You will not die. I promise. Even if it feels, I know sometimes it feels like it, right? But I promise you're not going to die, even if your brain tries to make you think you are. So, the third way in which the third and final way that I have for you guys today, in which we can kind of shift the way we view conflict as recovering people pleasers, is understanding that conflict, what it is at its core. And again, I kind of said this before, but it's really just saying the fact of the matter is y'all are not seeing eye to eye on this specific moment in this specific time. Even if it is technically a personal attack, they're viewing you in a way that you're not viewing yourself. That doesn't mean that it's true. That doesn't mean that you have to have a dramatized response, that you have to take it personally. What we really need to understand is that when we are looking to resolve conflicts, when we are looking to move forward from hostile conversations, meetings, engagements with coworkers, family members, friends, when our feelings are hurt, when somebody treats us wrong and we need to address this, what we need to understand is that we are coming from two different viewpoints, two different sides of the arena. And the goal in the conflict is just to understand and be understood. So if you can remember that, if you can take yourself to be objective and take your personal feelings out of the moment and realize what conflict is at its core, it's just two different viewpoints kind of coming at a point and and kind of feeling like there's no way through, and remind yourself that the goal is to find a way that you guys can find common ground so that you can actually go in the same direction. And that's all it is. That's all it's about. It's not about your worthiness. It's not about your value as a person. It doesn't say anything about your capabilities, your achievements, um, the quality of a person you are, your character. It's just you guys aren't seeing eye to eye. Okay, so like a great response would be, um, like, for instance, I had my feelings hurt by a friend recently, and I just had to recognize that it's not personal. They're dealing with their own stuff that doesn't have anything to do with me. I can also acknowledge and respect and appreciate and give room and space for my feelings to be hurt. I can speak up and say, hey, this hurt me. And then I can say, okay, we had different values, different viewpoints in this area, different ways in which we would have handled things. I would have done something differently, and that's why I'm hurt. My expectations were let down because you did things in a way that I wasn't expecting you to do, and I thought you would have done this or that or whatever. I can recognize that the point is we're having conflict because we're in two different viewpoints, two different expectations on what should have happened, what should occur, and that is what the conflict is. It's not a personal thing. And the goal of the resolution is just to find a way forward, if there is a way forward, how to get these conflicting viewpoints into something that can be on a common path so that we can move forward together. So let's do a quick recap because I know that was a lot of information. um, when we are conflict avoidant people pleasers, we have a few different things in which we can kind of remind ourselves and kind of reframe. And when we're facing conflict, to view it in a less scary and healthy way. And those three ways were is number one, from the four agreements, to stop taking it personally. Even if it feels about you, even if they make it about you, it's not about you. 99% of the way people respond to you is about them and their own mess and not about you, right? We know that, right? They have their own crap going on. And so don't take it personally. Secondly, we have to stop dramatizing as people pleasers, as recovering people pleasers. We have to stop dramatizing the consequences of that conflict. We have to stop making ourselves believe that a disagreement is a death sentence. It's not, even though sometimes our brains try to make us feel like it is. We have the ability to do the self talk, to regulate our nervous system, to bring us back down, to reframe, and to recognize this is just a disagreement. This isn't going to result in my downfall. So that was number two. Number three is reminding ourselves what conflict is at the basis, what it's actually about. All it is just saying that you guys have two different viewpoints, two different expectations, two different standards. Remember that that's all it is at its core. And as a result, the goal of the conflict resolution is just trying to bring those opposing views and see if there's a way that you can find common ground to move forward. Doesn't have anything to do with your quality as a person, your character, your accomplishments, your goals, your value, your worth, your abilities. It's just can't here in this moment, we're not seeing eye to eye. Is there a way we can move forward? Additional tips are definitely in the resource guide that is at the link in all of my bios. So I highly recommend that you go and check that out. It's completely free. I don't know if I said that, but it's a download. It's called The Recovering People Pleasers Guide to Tough Conversations and Personal Relationships. And I just go a little bit more in depth and give you some tips to help you navigate this, because I know as a recovering people pleaser how incredibly hard it is to deal with conflict, especially when you're really scared of rejection, you're scared of losing the person, you're scared of them being upset, you're scared of just things becoming a bigger thing. Like if you say something, maybe it'll make everything worse. But I'm here to let you know that everything is going to be okay. So if you have questions, if you have comments, make sure you chat them because I reply and I want to hear what's on your mind and how you're doing with this. And if you download the guide, I also have some email support with additional tips, and you can email me back, and I'm also there to support you in the emails and the DMs wherever you need it. All right, that is it for today. Again, thank you so much for being here, for listening, and for watching. I hope this served you. If it did, share it. Like, comment, subscribe, all that crap that people say. I don't know. I will be back tomorrow. Tomorrow's topic is my top 3 tips. Sorry about that. I should have put my phone on vibrate. My top 3 tips for motivating yourself to pull the band-aid and go ahead and have the difficult conversation when you know that you've been avoiding it for far too long. So if you are someone who knows there's a conversation you need to have and you haven't been having it, tomorrow's live is just for you. Make sure you turn in. See you later. Bye.